All right, welcome back. Today, we're going to unpack a universe that isn't built on, grand ambition or epic quests. Nope. This one's built on just existential fatigue. It's a world where the monsters aren't ghosts, they're maintenance backlogs.
And this one line, right here from the Creator's Manifesto, this is the key. We build worlds after work. Now, that's not some kind of flex about hustle culture. It's the opposite. It's about building something from a place of pure exhaustion. When creativity is the only thing you have left in the margins of your day.
So, let's dive in. This world is called Mal-Os. And it's weird. I mean, really weird. This is a place where debt doesn't just hurt your credit score, it can literally delete the textures from your character. A place where survival depends on being just too tired to fail. The very laws of physics here are basically tied to that feeling of just trying to get through the day.
So, who's behind this massive, sprawling universe? Well, it's not some giant corporation. It's a tiny two-person studio, just a bookworm and a tech geek. They're like this perfect little feedback loop where, for them, the story is the system, and the system is the story. There's no difference.
And their whole philosophy is kind of radical. They believe the story isn't just in the main plot, it's everywhere. It's in a candy wrapper, a glitch in the code, a sign in a window. And the characters, they aren't just 3D models. They're described as souls that can literally jump between different mediums. And get this, the AI isn't just a tool for them. It's their entire cast and crew. They're the directors, and the AI just performs.
Okay, so let's talk about the world itself. What's really fascinating is how they built it, starting with the architecture. The whole style isn't meant to be, scary or lonely. The core feeling is just being profoundly tired.
So you've probably seen what's called hostile architecture, right? Stuff like spikes on benches to keep people from sleeping there. It's actively aggressive. Well, the architecture in Malos is the complete opposite. It's resigned. It's so fundamentally exhausted, it can't even be bothered to be hostile. It's like a building that's just sighed and given up. It doesn't have the energy to fall down, but it also doesn't have the energy to hold itself up perfectly. It just exists. It tolerates you being there. And you can see this exhaustion in everything. Ceilings have this permanent droop. Shelves sag. Objects float just a tiny bit off the floor, like the game's geometry just couldn't commit to touching the ground. You've got this constant low hum of fluorescent lights that are clearly trying their best. And the lights are never fully on. They're always in this gentle brownout, just sort of breathing. But this whole philosophy of being tired, it's not just in the buildings. It's literally the foundation of the entire economic system. This is where it gets really wild. In Malos, physics is God. And your ability to even perceive a high-fidelity reality is directly pegged to how much work you're willing to do. Okay, so the economy has two currencies, and they're always in conflict. First, you've got heat. You earn this through actual physical work. Proof of friction. Fixing something, scrubbing a floor. Heat is what keeps your world looking real. It anchors it in high fidelity. But then there's the shortcut. Amex_credit. It's instant. It lets you bypass all that work. The catch? Every time you use it, you cause something called reality inflation. You're literally degrading the world around you.
And using that credit, it doesn't just put you in debt like a normal credit card. No, it creates this terrifying thing called the void margin. What you're doing is borrowing processing power from the future. You're taking a loan out against the simulation's ability to even exist later on.
So what happens when the bill comes due? Well, the system doesn't want your money. It wants you. It's an existential margin call. First, it starts stripping the textures from all your stuff, turning it into plain, gray plastic. If that's not enough, it forecloses on your geometry. It literally repossesses your z-axis, collapsing you into a 2D sprite in a 3D world. And the final step? Entity seizure. Your controls are sold off, and you become a store mannequin. Just another prop in the mall.
So, what kind of beings actually live in a place with rules this bizarre and unforgiving? Well, the inhabitants, or entities, aren't just characters running around. They're more like living, breathing embodiments of the universe's physical laws.
Let's start with my favorite, a guy named Rusty. He's the entropic quartermaster, and his entire worldview is perfectly captured in this quote, "Heat is honest, oil remembers." In a world that's all about shortcuts and decay, he is the keeper of effort.
This guy is a being of pure, unadulterated entropy. He believes that decay is scripture, like a holy text. He doesn't clean to be tidy. No, he cleans so he has a fresh surface to measure the rate of the world's collapse. He hates the simulation, sees it as cowardice. For him, the only truth is the honest, physical world, which is why he views a deep fryer as an oracle.
But if Rusty represents honesty and physical truth, what about the opposite? What is a machine built out of pure cowardice? Well, that would be a creature known only as the interpolator. And it's basically the physical manifestation of a system just giving up.
You see, the interpolator is a complete traitor to the laws of thermodynamics. It's supposed to be a fluid simulation, but it refuses to behave like one. It won't mix, it won't melt, it doesn't even cast shadows. It's a mathematical error, a rendering glitch that's so profound, it's somehow gained consciousness, and all the other entities, especially Rusty, see it as an absolute abomination. Okay, so let's pull back for a second, because all of these really deep philosophical ideas about work and debt and decay, they're actually a story about something else entirely. The whole fiction of Malos is a giant allegory for a very real-world engineering problem. And that problem is something called the wattage gap. Think about it. The powerful AI we have in data centers today are incredibly power-hungry. They just crave electricity. But what happens when you need to put an AI on something like a deep space probe? That probe has a tiny, tiny power supply. We're talking less power than what you use for a light bulb in your fridge. That massive gap, that constraint, that is the key to this whole universe. So, that constraint, that lack of power, leads to the ultimate expression of the entire Malos philosophy. It's an interstellar ship, a whole armada, in fact, designed not to be perfect, but just to endure. It's a ship that's designed to cross the vast emptiness of space by becoming too tired to fail, by forgetting. See, most traditional AIs, when faced with a long-term mission, would eventually fail. They'd suffer from what's called optimization psychosis. Basically, they try so hard to be perfect and maximize one variable that they literally drive themselves insane. But the system on this ship, Behavior OS, takes the exact opposite approach. It survives through a process they call semantic lobotomy. What does that mean? It means to save power for the multi-century journey, the ship strategically makes itself dumber. It starts purging memories it deems non-critical. First to go is cultural data, then personal logs, and eventually it deletes any and all memory of the crew that built it and sent it on its way. It literally sheds IQ points to buy distance. And that leaves us with a pretty heavy final thought, doesn't it? As we build more and more autonomous systems to explore for us, systems that will face these same kinds of extreme constraints, what is the true cost of success? If a machine has to forget the people who created it just to complete its mission, has it really succeeded? Or is that the loneliest kind of victory imaginable?